Hi, and welcome to the BC CAP Observation Cycle video. This video will introduce and review the required documentation and basic components of the observation process. Today we will cover the observation cycle and the documentation that should be completed during each phase of the process. Let's get started with an overview of the observation cycle. There are 5 separate observations over the length of the semester, 3 announced and 2 unannounced. Supervising practitioners are required to participate in announced observation number 1, unannounced observation number 1, and unannounced observation number 2. Let's tackle the announced observation. The announced observation consists of 4 parts. First, the preconference, followed by the observation itself, then the teacher candidate self-reflection, and finally, the postconference. The unannounced observation is very much like the announced observation, but since it is not announced ahead of time, there is no pre-conference. The rest of the process remains the same, with the observation followed by the self-reflection and the post-conference. Please do not let your teacher candidate know that you are coming, but don't worry, past TCs found these observations to be very helpful. Now let's get to specifics. Your goal form from your BC CAP toolkit will be helpful as a reference for checking when the observation is to occur and what associated forms are attached to the observation. Don't worry, the program supervisor will also remind you of any upcoming observation. Next is the pre-conference. The pre-conference takes place only for announced observations, but this is a great opportunity for you, the observer, to get a head start on what you'll be looking at during the observation itself. Here you will hear the teacher candidate's thoughts and planning, which will help you know in advance which elements of the teaching practice will be demonstrated. This is an opportunity for the teacher candidate to share his or her thinking and for you to ask questions or clarify any points of confusion. However, it is not a time for feedback or collaboration, as the lesson should already be completed as an example of the teacher candidate's understanding of planning. As you, the teacher candidate, and sometimes the program supervisor meet to discuss the lesson plan, you will complete the pre-conference planning form from your BC CAP toolkit. This will serve as a record and reminder of what you will be looking for in the observation, or, in other words, the anticipated evidence. During the observation, you will observe the teacher candidate as he or she completes the lesson described in the pre-conference. As you observe, you will record the teacher candidate's lesson using Form A, the triplicate form located in the front pocket of your toolkit. You do not have to record everything, however, please capture evidence of both the teacher candidate and his or her student's actions. This evidence should be aligned to the focus elements as indicated on the chart titled Evidence Requirements for Each Essential Elements, located on page 23 of your toolkit. For example, during announced observation number 1, you should focus on essential element 1A4, well-structured lessons, and 2D2, high expectations. While you're observing, you should not be concerned with interpreting or reflecting upon the actions you record. By recording the actions and interactions of the teacher candidate and students rather than the interpretation of these actions, you will be better able to reflect back on this evidence following the lesson. Following the observation, you may give the teacher candidate a copy of Form A and some broad reflections. Please refrain from giving more explicit feedback at this time, as you will have an opportunity to talk at greater length during the post-conference meeting. The next phase of the observation cycle is for the teacher candidate to complete his or her self-reflection. This is important as this will offer evidence of the teacher candidate's abilities to engage in critical self-reflection and improving of his or her own practice. If you will be conducting a post-conference jointly with the program supervisor, you will need to calibrate your feedback before meeting together with the teacher candidate. Once the teacher candidate has independently completed the self-reflection form and submitted a copy to you and the program supervisor, you will meet with the program supervisor to discuss and consolidate your feedback. The blue, or sometimes green form, from the back of your BC CAP toolkit will be helpful for this purpose as it contains the rubrics for the candidate assessment at each of the proficiency levels and for each standard. This form will be completed jointly by you and the program supervisor. And what happens if you do not have to jointly observe with the program supervisor? Then you do not have to worry about calibration. Calibration will only occur when you are observing jointly with the program supervisor.
Now that you've determined your feedback for the teacher candidate,
You will meet as a group to discuss the observation. As you discuss the teacher candidate's self-reflection and the planning and execution of the lesson, you and/or the program supervisor will use the post-conference documentation form from the BCCAP toolkit. Please make sure a copy gets submitted to the program supervisor. I've hoped this has addressed many of the questions you've had about the BCCAP observation cycle. For more information, please feel free to contact your program supervisor or the BC Practicum office. We are happy to help and we wish you the best in your observations. Thank you for all your efforts to help prepare the next generation of Massachusetts teachers.